Hey, Jen.
Hi, Dana. Hey, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Hypnosis
Hypnosis.
and Beyond. Today, we have a very special guest. Vinnie Brigance is a certified hypnotherapist and founder of Organic Hypnosis Training, where he trains hypnotherapists, coaches, and change workers to be the most effective practitioners in the field.
Hey, Vinnie.
What's up?
Hey,
What's up?
Vinnie.
How's everybody
Thank you
doing?
for joining us today. We're so excited to see you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm thrilled to be here.
All of the things that you are involved in are so interesting. Your career has really spanned over a lot of different specialties. How did you get to literally today?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So for me, the focus, when I got into hypnosis, it was because my mom passed away from smoking related causes. She's 53 years old, didn't get to meet my son. And I saw when she went through, right? Tube down her throat, deep, like machines keeping her alive. She gets a second chance at life. She goes back to smoking. I had no idea. None of us did. She kept it from us. So after grieving like a normal person, eventually I decided to maybe do something about it. You know, you have those thoughts in the shower where things just kind of dawn on you out of nowhere. And I was thinking about, what if I help people quit smoking? Did a little research, but the thing that hit me was like, if I help 1,000 people quit smoking, what would that look like? And what would that be financially? Probably with my political science background, we're used to looking at data and things like that. And so that would help generate over $70 million over the next 30 years once we've helped 1,000 people quit. So that's really where the mission kicked off for me. It was through that pain and going through that grieving process and deciding to make a difference in that area that I got interested in this stuff. Flew out to a little conference called Hypno Thoughts Live. Didn't know anybody, and it didn't matter. I made a bunch of cool friends out there and continue to do so. So it's a heck of an industry to make a start in, to engage in some entrepreneurship there. And in the next 14 months, I will have helped 1,000 people quit smoking.
Wow.
And my new mission is to help 1 million people quit. Now, if we do the math on that, I won't be alive long enough to do it. So I'm training 1,000 hypnotists, and they're going to help 1,000 people quit smoking. That's how we're going to hit 1 million and generate over $70 trillion in savings, which is a number that sounds made up to me. When you start saying trillion, it's just a whole lot of zeros that go on forever. And we'll see what happens, right? Well, that's what I'm all about.
I love it. What a huge goal, and congratulations on being so close to achieving.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what an accomplishment and what an honor. And
Dana, I thought I was going to do it in a year. And 4 years later, we're just now getting there. So I had no idea what I was getting into there. Like, I would have started a clinic. And then you have to learn about marketing, sales, all that stuff too along the way. So I'm kind of glad I didn't know how difficult it would have been on the front end. It might have scared me away. But to just diving in, right? Dive into the belly of the beast and you figure it out as you go.
4 years is so impressive. To be honest, thinking about the math is like, whoa, that's 250 people a year. That's practically one a day.
It was, usually I'll stack them. I'll usually see clients 4 days a week. And then I need the rest of the time to make content and do all the other salesy type stuff you need to do to be able to consistently attract clients. I think that's the phrase we're using now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
right.
Looking at some of your previous experience, it looks like you've been in the coaching space for quite a while.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my career has been all over the place. In politics, which I have no interest in talking about. And I worked in behavioral marketing. So we would do things like analyze different physiological responses to objects. We might manipulate the size and dimensions of them, things like that, and see. Like, it's interesting how people, when we make this bottle look more hourglass shaped, we notice all these different responses people get across all demographics. Did some coaching for a while, played with some of Tony Robbins' stuff and Chloe Madonna's. So they give you some strategies for accomplishing goals. It was Tony Robbins. I remember him talking about this genius named Milton Erickson. And he kept referencing him over and over. And I'm like, I should probably Google who that guy is. And I was kind of blown away a little bit because you got this guy that got the issues with his speech and you see people experiencing all this interesting phenomena. I didn't really know what hypnosis was at the time. But I think that's where my curiosity really started to peak. And then, of course, you talked about Bandler and Grinder, and the NLP side was kind of fascinating.
So when you said open a clinic for your smoking cessation,
Yep.
is that something that exists now?
I opened the clinic January 9th, 2020. Yeah, paid my rent for my office a year in advance because I thought I was doing the right thing. A few months later, we had to shut it down due to COVID. So that was kind of scary. And I think we were all like, can we do this stuff online? Does it work online? What was it? And the Jockwins were very helpful. And Mr. Lynette, they helped me get things set up. It was incredible. So I was very fortunate. Again, we're in a kind of a cool industry in that way where we help each other out and support one another. Mm-hmm. So yeah, January 9th is when I kicked off. And, you know, just was super brave when things were going wrong. I wasn't on the floor crying in the corner because it's like, what do I do with all the money I just spent here? But we figured it out. Now I only see people online. It's very rare that I do an in-person session now.
Oh, interesting.
It opens up the whole world as a market, the connected planet.
Yeah, what about when you train practitioners?
The Organic Hypnosis Training Center, I started early last year, and the majority of my trainings have been online unless I'm teaching at a conference. Or if I'm doing a post-conference class or something, then I'll teach in person. But the majority of those, I try to do 3 or 4 a year. And it's a fun way of working with people, dynamic. We're not really using inductions or language patterns, pre-talks, any of the traditional really cool hypnotic stuff that you do. We're joining that moment-to-moment experience with the client, and we're almost using their reality of the things they're learning in real time and that experience as the gateway into trance. Because it's very trancy when you start to realize things about yourself and you're on that path of discovery. You start to get these new insights. And so we just use that as the vehicle or the gateway into trance. And then trance is just what we use to help people learn about what's going on really quickly. And I found pretty consistently that this seems to have a little bit more of a lasting impact in smoking cessation. Because it really has little to do with cigarettes. So many people quit smoking without seeing a hypnotist, right? But it's everything else around the problem that seems to keep them stuck. Oh, my daughter said something about me I don't like. I cope with this via a cigarette. That type of an approach. Where once we sort through those reasons, it's just not as appealing to them. I got this really cool award.
Let's see it.
Innovation, fun
Look
stuff.
At that. Yay.
Nice job.
The thing is, the entire time I'm teaching, we're kind of, instead of doing hypnosis, it's more something you just become. I have this really cool metaphor. So I taught a self-hypnosis class out there, and it's based off the idea of like pioneers gathering around a campfire. And what they're doing is they're really just stopping and listening to one another. And they're listening in such a way, they're focused on understanding the person in front of them versus figuring out what they're going to say next. What's my next technique? What do I need to do when the client reacts this way? So it really is just joining that moment-to-moment reality. So I kind of set this stage and this setting. And it's funny because it kind of feels like we're all sitting around a campfire pretty quickly together when we're doing it. And there's just these 5 simple principles: listening, exploration, awareness, discovery, and then space is my favorite one. And so we use the warm campfires. And the idea is just to become that campfire when you're talking to people and when you're working with them. And it's strange, but they seem to just go into trance or access these powerful states of consciousness, perhaps, where it's amazing to watch them just access resources. They all have their own experience, and there's a level of depth and insight there. But as I have them share and listen, they connect to their own experience in an even more powerful way, and the person that's sharing. They're like, well, we're all the same. And it's this really cool way to connect as humans. So the idea is that if they do that, folks can just sort of work a little bit. It's more not about the how, it's more how we're doing the how.
I was picturing the campfire while you were saying that. And I think most people have had a bonding experience around a campfire at some point in their life. Fires are definitely a special place, and it's very easy to picture the crackling, the log cracking, and the fire moving.
Yeah, very primal, right? Yeah. It ties us in some ways to these very ancient experiences we've been having forever. It's one of the first technologies, fire. Mm-hmm. And that moment of listening to one another, that's likely the foundation of society, was the moment when I said, let me listen to Dana. Let me listen to Jennifer and really understand her. So it's that exchange of information, and we start to collaborate, innovate. We start to create ideas, and pretty soon it's like, well, what if we just stick the stuff in the ground here and let it grow? Wouldn't that be a good idea? You think that would work? I think it's for me, it's the foundation of everything. Is that moment we decide to really listen to somebody. And yeah, I think that campfire is symbolic in that way too. It's comfort, it's warmth, it's security for a lot of people.
When you're describing your academy and your classes in person, the emphasis on the group think, the collaborative experience. So does that mean if somebody were to join your academy or take a class from you, they are sort of joining a cohort? Because not all academies offer that, of course.
Yeah, I'm probably maybe a little bit overbearing with it. I feel like I check in with my students quite a bit, try to support them. Sometimes I film like some of their content and I go, here's how I would have positioned that differently. Here's why. Right? Here's how I'm thinking about this piece of content. I tell my students, if they get permission with their clients, film your session, send it to me, because I want to see how well you're developing this modality. And I have just a really simple ranking system or grading system I use to evaluate it. And I can give them feedback. Doing a demo with the teacher there is awesome, but I'm more interested in what that practitioner experiences when they go out into the real world and they have to help somebody. That's where all the uncomfortable stuff can come up, and the fears, and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not used to this. There's all these little micro learnings you're not even aware of. The support after the training is really important to me.
That's amazing. Huge. And what a way to really foster confidence in somebody.
Yeah.
I imagine your background in coaching must be lending itself to your academy.
I love that. I hadn't really considered that before, Dana. That's a good point. I think, well, I hadn't considered that, but up until now, I drew a lot from just getting out there and having things go wrong in sessions. And like, I wanted this person to quit smoking so bad. I pre-talked their face off, right? They're tranced out of this universe. And then I get a call the next day, they're having trouble. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. What's going on? The willingness to actually connect with them and swallow my pride and swallow my ego and say, okay, well, that didn't work. What's the next step here? There's gotta be a way to do this. So I think it's walking that journey myself. It would have been nice to have some support, someone I could have bounced some ideas off of. I realized that some things that might make it a little bit nicer for other practitioners when they start their journey or they're learning a new modality. And now I have this great teaching tool. It actually makes my job easier if I could see you away from my influence. A good teacher is going to guard you from their influence. They're like, so that's a big thing for me. I think it actually makes it easier, helps them. And then I get referral students, right? So I think it's smart business too. Provide that level of support for people.
Is there anything that either stands out to you that you went through in the past or advice you might offer?
One of the first moments I kind of stopped working with a more of a typical hypnotic structure. I remember this lady had saved up for 3 months to book a session with me. She made like $15 an hour. And she cleaned like the bedpans out and stuff. She had that job at a hospital, and she did. And I was so proud of her for doing that. She saved all this cash up, and I was so thrilled to help this lady. And I was devastated when I found out she was like suffering the next day. So that didn't work. Let's just hop on a call. And I said, so you want to quit smoking? What's going on? How's that for a pre-talk, right? She goes, and really intense, reflective response, slowing down, going inward. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. I'm kind of just observing her. And she said, well, my daughter said something about me on social media. I felt terrible. And I just can't believe it because I love her so much. And that hurt me, right? And I know I'm not perfect. And all this beautiful emotional stuff came up. In a more traditional setting, I would have been like, can you shut up? I want to get through my pre-talk. But like, now I'm able to leverage this beautiful emotional content that's spontaneously occurring. So that was when it started to click to me. Now I didn't go right into that right away. I started looking at other things. Does anybody else work this way? you start to kind of see what's out there. And for a while I had a bit of a hybrid approach, but that was the moment when I was just so struck by that experience. And it was like 35 minutes or something. I thought, oh, I wonder if she's going to talk forever. No, we got to the point really quickly, and all I had to do was shut up. I was like, this is great. I like that way more. I know how to do that. So, well, yeah, it was that type of approach. Specifically for smoking cessation, one of the biggest mistakes I made on the front end was I wasn't conscious of this, but I was approaching the session as if I could quit smoking for the person, that I could make that choice. And I didn't realize I was putting all this pressure on myself. Now, how that would show up in the session was like, okay, if I nail this pre-talk, I nail this induction, if I'm seeing phenomena and I nail this script or whatever suggestions, this is supposed to do the work. And don't get me wrong, I have had plenty of success with that approach. But that approach didn't quit smoking for the person. Ultimately, they still had to make that choice. And if they had any sort of like a craving or a sort of any kind of an adversity during the experience, I thought I failed. But the majority of people that quit smoking on the planet have cravings. They have emotional experiences that are uncomfortable. Why would I assume that's not just the unconscious mind healing? A lot of times I talk about it like if you cut your hand, we think the healing starts once we start to see the blood coagulate, that scar starts to form, maybe we bandage it up, but the healing actually started the moment you cut it. The unconscious mind rushes those white blood cells to the fore. It's starting to fix it immediately, but we don't consider that part of the healing. And so it's the same with smoking cessation. The session wraps up, whatever that person experiences, we don't want to not leverage that. We want to use it. That can very quickly be an opportunity for them to arrange themselves internally in such a way that that challenge just means, hey, I'm doing the work. I'm doing the real work, and I'm going to be smoke-free, and all the things that's going to mean for them. It's a very empowering way to approach change work with people.
Well, I was just reflecting on what you were talking about and just how so many different coaches bring different approaches as far as allowing their client to speak and emote. What you're saying really resonates with me because there's a nurturing there and a support that I think people walk away from. So not only are you helping people with quitting smoking, but you're also just lending a kindness and an ear to somebody who may have a lot of other things going on. So I just think that's a beautiful, holistic approach.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there is something to that old expression. I think it was Virginia Satir that said the presenting problem isn't the real problem. I'm a little bit shocked by how true that is, though, because I understood that intellectually. And then to really start to experience that in client work is very profound. I'll do a smoking cessation session. It might be 20 minutes to 35, 40 minutes. So they're very quick. But I'm struck by how little we actually talk about cigarettes. It's like the least important part of the experience. I can't do it for them. I've already admitted that to them. There's nothing I can do to help you in that way. You have to do it. But that's a great thing because it puts the responsibility where it belongs too. And it's not in a harsh, callous way. It's we're going to explore this together. You're going to figure out how, that type of a thing.
I'm thinking after working with you with smoking cessation, they must feel like, are you getting people who are saying, wait a second, you've just inspired me so much. I want to learn from you and become a hypnotist.
Yeah,
that does happening? Happen.
Yeah, that does happen. It's not for everyone, though. But a lot of people are very intrigued with how powerful they connect with themselves. It's almost like they're building rapport with themselves in a new way because we're not judging them. We've created this opportunity for them. So they have this really powerful experience with self-discovery. And it's funny how these things just kind of tie together. It reminds me of P.A.R wrote a book called Convergence Healing. Ironically, the first class I went into at Hypnothoughts was this fella. And he had us do something called the commitment to love. The goal of it was you're going to commit to loving every single part of you, especially the parts that you think are ugly, because those are the parts that need love the most. It's a very powerful thing to consider. And I find that this is a experience my clients have organically when I'm working with them, and that stays with them for life.
question for you. Is the process for stopping vaping the same? How does that play into
Yeah,
smoking cessation?
it's similar. There's a couple different things with vaping, but the process itself isn't different. There's just different, maybe some education pieces you want to share with people. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to be the future of the smoking cessation industry will be smokeless tobacco. It's just helping people understand that like the NHS might say, vaping's a healthy alternative to smoking. And it's like, well, these are the people like we have like shots of nurses teaching people how to smoke, right? From back in the day. Like this is a really bad industry. Like Philip Morris is like, we know they got involved in foods in the 80s, created hyperpalatable foods. We see childhood obesity spike. It's just not to be trusted. That's probably the most important thing I would say to share with people that, yeah, they might be saying that, and it's probably a safer alternative. I think that's fair, but I wouldn't want to assume that that's a safe thing for someone to do. Um, I've
It's
helped doctors smoke.
interesting.
Or I've helped doctors stop smoking. Yeah, they feel awful too. Nurses and doctors, because they're telling you, hey, you have to quit. This is killing you, right? I can see the damage. And then they're internally just wrecked. And they feel so hypocritical because they know they're going to go smoke right after work or on their way into work. They have to stop off and get rid of the scent. They have to do whatever they can to mask it and then go tell people to quit smoking all day. It's just awful for
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear about the vaping and how that's still prevalent in our society.
Around 1 in 5 people smoke, according to some surveys I've seen, and around 70% say they want to quit. So that's a pretty massive market in the US. I think it is unfortunate that when I talk to hypnotherapists, they really struggle in this area. They don't have success rates at the level they want. And it's too bad because hypnosis is definitely one of the primary things people associate with. One of the things people associate with hypnosis is smoking cessation, weight loss, anxiety, and then like stage stuff. I think they easily consider that as a service they would want to explore. But it's too bad because you see so many hypnotists take themselves out of that market. And I think we could do a lot of good there, right? I would love to burn down Philip Morris from the inside. I'd love to make them sell their yachts. All right, it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it.
One question I just wanted to understand is like smoking cessation, is the process similar to weight loss? When is an
Yeah,
addiction, like addiction to food, addiction to cigarettes?
we take addiction and we make it into this boogeyman. We go, no, you're not addicted. It's a habit, or it's this other. They'll try to reframe it in such a way, and it's as if they think people can't overcome addictions. People overcome addictions all the time, right? So, in the sense that we're just taking the sting out of it, I mean, you quit smoking because you're addicted. Who cares, right? Quit eating hyperpalatable foods because you're addicted to them. Like the same thing that is a problem can just as quickly be a solution. But until we put that antagonism in front of people and we're willing to work with them through it, there's always going to be this monster in the closet that they don't want to face. And how many challenges have you had in your life where it was more painful to confront the challenge or to do the thing you're scared of than to actually do it? I feel like I deal with that all the time still. I'm like, oh, put that off for 2 weeks. Took me like 20 minutes to knock out. It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Human beings, were terrible at prediction. We're great at adaptation. And so because my process is more about utilizing the client's experience as the gateway in a trance, I can kind of work with anything that way. It doesn't matter too much. It's more about the experience of doing it than understanding it intellectually. That's where the real learning is.
I have one more question about children and vaping.
Yeah.
It is terrifying to think about something that is so easily portable and hideable. You can take a vape pen anywhere. You don't smell, cigarettes. You had to go through, like you just mentioned, with nurses and doctors masking the smell and whatnot. Mm-hmm. There's so many things about it that are insidious in a way that smoking is much more obvious. Do you handle children the same way as adults? Is it effective to use your same strategies?
Yeah, so I have found that it is, but the context might be different because the reason a teenager is vaping tends to be it's a little bit more obvious. A lot of times there's more of a peer pressure element right in front of them. People are just doing it. They want to fit in. They want to do it. Well, it's completely normal to want to fit in. So sort of in the backbone of my approach, so I have the leads, right? The 5 principles, but it's predicated off of the idea that a leader's most important job is to create other leaders. So the idea is to empower the client. It can be a teenager, it can be an adult, with the skills and the ability to like make the discoveries they need within themselves to start to lead themselves. Then they start to lead their the people around them, right? So it's not so much about the age of the person. It's more about examining the reasons that they're doing it. Well, that's where the variance is. But we're always in this process of exploration when we're working with people organically, versus me prescribing things to you or assuming I have the answer for you via an approach, a protocol, or something like that.
The other part of the question is the shame of cigarette smoking these days is much more of a factor. The little town that I live in, it's actually illegal to smoke in public places, smoke cigarettes. Vaping isn't listed.
Yeah, that's a major contextual difference. There's this adverse image now. I've seen gentlemen, when I used to live out in Boston, I saw a couple people get arrested for smoking, waiting for the train to come. I know it is completely different in that way. And I don't know if that applies to vaping. I don't think it does. It is being promoted as the healthy alternative by health organizations. Some of them are like, actually care about people in this area a little bit more, I would say. We got to keep in mind, like, these folks have a lot of money too. These tobacco companies, they're huge. They have a level of influence and access to decision makers that we don't. So yeah, it makes sense, right? That's the future model of their business. And we'll probably continue to see conflicting data and studies saying, hey, no, it's fine. And this one will say, I don't know. A lot of people died from it. Maybe it's not fine. We're going to have a lot of this for a while, I think. So I think you nailed it. It is different in that it's a process. And once we all wise up to vaping not being good, I'm sure they'll come up with some other methodology that'll be just as horrible for you. But in my experience, it doesn't take long for people to come to a fairly strong conclusion. This isn't something they want in their life. And they often can quickly determine this doesn't seem right. And so I think giving them an opportunity to explore that realization is very powerful. So if we give them an opportunity to start to become conscious of like, well, why'd you even call me? Do you want to quit? Is it worth it? You go through withdrawals. You might have to deal with this discomfort. Why is it worth it for you to not do this anymore? And you give them an opportunity to explore that stuff. It has a similar effect pretty quickly, despite the conflicting information. Woo!
We talked about a demonstration of sorts.
I love it. Let's do, is there anything, you don't even have to say it out loud if you don't want to, but an area in your life where you'd like to get a little bit more clarity on, something you want to explore? You nod your head if you have. So, yep, Dana's got something.
Sure. Content free?
Yeah, it's a little bit trickier on my end, but I don't really care. So you've got this thing in your mind. So do me a favor, just take a slow, deep breath in. All right. And then just exhale slowly. There you go. And take a slow, deep breath in. Exhale even slower. And just notice the top of your head. And as you think about this area in your life where you'd like to get a little bit of clarity, go ahead and scan from the top of your head all the way down to the bottom of your feet. Take your time. Notice what you feel as you think about that area where you want to get a little bit more clarity. Notice anything odd, familiar, positive or negative. What does your awareness draw to as you scan from the top of your head all the way down to your toes? Just notice that and become aware of it. All right, I'll have you open your eyes. Cool. What happened is you just kind of became aware of that. You don't have to tell me any specific details. Just what did you notice in your body? Nothing. Can't do it wrong. Maybe you didn't experience anything at all.
I felt it in my gut area.
Gut. Okay.
Yeah.
Jennifer, did you have any interesting sensations or no effect whatsoever?
I just had immediate relief. It was great.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, it was just an amazing piece.
that's powerful. We don't
Yeah.
know what it is. We don't know what her unconscious mind did. Something happened, right? Well, let's play with it a little bit more. So, um, so now I'd like you just to experience that relief, Jennifer, Dana, that sensation in your gut.
Mhm.
Put your mind on it. And I usually don't talk this much when I'm doing it. I just don't want to have so much dead air on the recording. So there we go. Slow, deep breath in. Exhale even slower. And give yourself one more breath like that. Really enjoy the wave of the exhale this time. And allow your awareness to go to those thoughts, feelings, sensations in your body. And just sit with it. Don't judge it. Don't try to do anything to it. Become aware. All right. And come back at the rate that you want to. There we go. Yeah. And so what happened this time?
I had more thoughts about it that came from different times in my, like it was clarity of something that I've been feeling for a while. And I'd say initially it was my feelings about it right now. The second time it was my feelings in the past about it.
Wow. That's amazing. That's almost like I think some approaches would refer to that like a timeline or something. We go back. It's amazing how our minds can just do this though. Right? They don't need us to give them a timeline. The unconscious goes, "Hey, shut up. Let me do it. I got it." All right. Erickson talked about a lack of alignment between the conscious and the unconscious. So I kind of think about if I create enough space, that just kind of happens, right? And that makes my
Mhm.
work easy because I just get to shut up, right? Oh, world's laziest hypnotherapist, right? Jennifer, what happened when you experienced I think you call it like a relief or like a release or something?
Well, there came a solution.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it wasn't a feeling, it was more like words and thoughts. So it
Cool.
was interesting how it changed.
Well, that's
But
fascinating.
also, I love that you're giving space to the clients,
Yeah.
but it's also a lot about your intention too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling your intention,
Oh, that's
like
cool.
all the goodness. I don't know. Is that just me because I'm a touchy feely person? But do you have, like, when you go into these things with people, how important is it to set your intention with them?
Yeah. That leads process, those 5 principles of listening, exploration, awareness, discovery, and space. It's really oriented on just kind of backing off. It's all kind of oriented around that, right? I break them all down in content and explain them, but they overlap quite a bit. It's really nonlinear in that way. So I think it does help, for me at least, orient to the people I'm working with in such a way where the intention just kind of happens. And I don't have to like go, okay, I'm gonna fixate my intention on helping you. It just kind of happens. I think intention's huge, right? If anybody gets bored and they want to look up Brenda Dune, Dunne, from P.A.I.R, Princeton Engineering Anomalous Research Lab, she ran that thing for 28 years, and they would do stuff like have human beings look at random number generators and interact with them, and they would cause an effect they couldn't quite calculate. It wasn't very big. And then what got really interesting? And I see this with my students. They'll have this profound understanding. They don't know what the hell they're doing, what the H they're doing at a session, right? Or we'll be doing a demo. And then suddenly they're like, I can't do it now. What happened? Right. It's that first time experience effect, first time look. Anyway, but we see it there, right? It'll be off the charts, right? Relative to the impact they're going to make in the future. Then they come back, they interact with the number generator again. Results plummet because they're thinking, I know what to do. I got it.
Ah.
And they're not in that state of like wonder and exploration and just discovering and allowing that moment to moment journey to unfold, right? Now they think they know what that person needs, or in this case, the device, they think they know what they need to do to affect it. So then they get confused as hell, right? They come back later and the results go back up. It's kind of cool. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of criticism about those experiments. So it's a bit woo-woo and out there. But it is Princeton, right? It's a lab. And I think Brenda's pretty great. So, but it's a fascinating thing, right? So I think I just wanted to share that because I think it does kind of speak to the intention does have an impact. But I guess the intention I have is more, I just want to create the opportunity for you to experience something within yourself. And I kind of keep it really simple. And I trust that your unconscious mind can produce a result way beyond whatever I can do.
And it's very organic.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That brings us to our silly subconscious question. And this question is designed for you to just give us the first answer that comes to your mind. Cool. You don't have to reflect. We want to tap into your gut reaction.
Go for it. Gearing up.
And so our silly subconscious question for you today, Mr. Vinnie Brigance, is cereal a soup?
Jeez, Louise, I gotta say.
Or why not?
Cereal, it's not a soup. Oh, that's a good question, though, because I can see some overlap there. I guess soup doesn't go in milk, I suppose, but there are like creams of mushroom and things like that. That's kind of cream-based and dairy. That's tough. That's a really tough one there. You stumped me. I'm going to put it in the no category based off social convention. But that's a very, that'll, after we help 1 million people quit smoking, we're definitely going to solve that mystery.
Yes.
It's a controversial question for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
We'll be following up with you.
I love it.
That.
Well, let me take a deep breath in. That's good.
Yes.
That leads us to our next question. We've talked a lot about your hypnosis, and we want to ask you, what is your beyond? What lights you up aside from your wonderful practice?
Yeah, I think seeing my children grow and develop, that really lights me up. Something they were really struggling with, and then suddenly they can just like write the letters of the alphabet, or some of the ways they react to the world. Sometimes they're a little heartbreaking because there is this beautiful innocence that they're kind of born with. But it's adorable to see them be so human and approach these subjects that might not be the most pleasant. And I think I find that just enamoring. And I'm a diehard Detroit Lions fan. It's almost a problem how much I like to watch Detroit Lions. I'm not this guy. Talk about an ego state shift. I like scream. I want to go put on pads and play when I go to the stadium. I would get destroyed. But I am all about doing it. Give me a helmet, coach. Like, it's just bad. But yeah, those are probably the two things, the Lions and family.
Well, could you please share with our viewers, our audience, how can they find you?
I'm on TikTok, the Stop Smoking Specialist, if you're interested in that type of content. I'm also on there as Become a Hypnotist. And then the Organic Hypnosis Training Center on YouTube. Or you can just shoot me a message. Just say hi. I'm a normal person like that. Hit me up on Facebook. And also vincentbrigance.com. Right? That's my website.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for making time today. And thank you, everybody, for exploring with us. If you liked this content, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And with that, what do we always say, Jen?
Peace out.
Peace out.